By fans of high quality entertainment, I would like to thank those that watched my previous tier list for 1969. And I'm going to just randomly pick a year. And, if the videos get enough comments and views, I will continue this for eternity. That's right. So, 1974, I have, I believe, 54 albums in total. Now, please remember, this is random. There's hundreds of great albums that were released in 1974, and I've just picked some of them. And also, please also remember, you're not going to agree with where I place some of these albums, but everybody has their, their favorites, and certain albums might not be the best, but for whatever reason, it's become a favorite, to do with your own life for whatever reason. So here we go. So there's S tier, which is the best, superior, and then A, B, C, and D. There's no E, because from looking at these albums, there's no really bad albums at all. So in no particular order, I'm just going to start grabbing albums, and I would love your thoughts on any of these albums. Here we go. So Joni Mitchell, Court and Spark is A. I know some people would put that in S tier. The Residents, Meet the Residents. My favorite album of theirs is Duck Stab, and there's a couple of others. Meet the Residents, I just haven't warmed up to yet. It's pretty weird. So I will put it in C, but I'm sure, on further listens, I might enjoy it more. Bad Company, their debut album, very strong debut album. I will put that in A, but I think the Joni Mitchell album is just a little better for me. Queen 2, I've really grown to love this album. I will put it in A. It's probably going to be a lot of albums in A. I will put it ahead of Bad Company and ahead of Court and Spark. Supertramp, Crime of the Century, the first S tier album. Just a perfect album. Blue Oyster Cult, Secret Treaties. I always used to think that album came out in 1975, because that's the year I thought, that's the first album I bought of Blue Oyster Cults. But I must have bought it in 1974. So I've been a fan for 50 years. That is S tier. Now, right there, I think Crime of the Century is probably a better album than Secret Treaties. But for me, I just love Secret Treaties so much. I love it more than Crime of the Century. John Lennon, Walls and Bridges. That is an A. I would put it at the beginning of A. Grand Funk, All the Girls in the World Beware. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be interviewing Mark Farner in early December. I need to ask him about a couple of those album covers, like Born to Die and All the Girls in the World Beware, because that's when I stopped buying Grand Funk albums. I've got this in my collection, but I'm just not a big fan. It's not a bad album, but I'll put it in C ahead of The Residents. Preservation Act 2. I have heard it, but I probably need to hear it more. But I wasn't that impressed with it. I'll put it in C ahead of The Residents. Lou Reed, Sally Can't Dance. That's an underrated Lou Reed album. That's an A. Yeah, ahead of Queen. For me, right? Queen Sheer Heart Attack is, that's almost S tier. That's a pretty damn good album. I'm going to put it in S tier. Right there. Yep. Humble Pie, Thunderbox. Yeah, they I loved Smokin' and Rockin' the Fillmore, their live album. But Thunderbox was kind of disappointing. I'll put it in C. Right before The Residents. Michael Nesmith, The Prison. I did a CD exchange with Glenn Kellaway a couple years ago, and I was really impressed with this album. I would love to get it, but I think it's hard to, expensive to buy, just the single CD. I'm going to put it in B. I just need to listen to it more, but like I said, I was just very impressed with it. Thin Lizzy, Nightlife, that's one of I think the only Thin Lizzy album I ever bought, and I didn't care for it. So ahead of The Residents, though. Deep Purple Burn, very good album. I'd put it just before Queen 2. Sparks, Propaganda. S tier, right at the beginning. Rush, their debut album, which I did buy the year it came out. I'll put that in B, ahead of Michael Nesmith. Randy Newman, Good Old Boys, that's A. I would put it, yeah. I'm just a big Randy Newman fan. That's why it's ahead of Deep Purple. Another very underrated album, the Eric Burdon Band, Sun Secrets. Really good album. I'm going to put that in A. At the end of A. Frank Zappa, Apostrophe. That is S tier, right there, between Supertramp and Sheer Heart Attack. The Edgar Winter Group with Shock Treatment. I remember buying that when it came out, and I just thought it was okay, but I've listened to it since, and I actually have it in my CD collection. I think it's kind of underrated. I'll put it in B. In between Michael Nesmith and Rush. Kraftwerk Autobahn, that would be in A. Ahead of Deep Purple. Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. That would be, it's not my favorite Genesis album. I'll put it at the start of B. The J. Giles Band, Nightmares. That was an okay. I'll put it in C. Right. I'll put it at the start of C. Harry Nilsson with John Lennon producing, Pussycats. Actually not a bad album, even though, Harry's vocals were kind of going. I'll put that in B. At the end of B. Frank Zappa, Roxy and Elsewhere, live album. That is A. Right there. King Crimson. I need to listen to that more. I've only listened to it once when it was gifted to me recently. So I'll play it safe and I'll put it in B for now. Red, I've listened to, I don't have it, but I've listened to it a few times. It's really good. I'll put that just ahead of Randy Newman. How am I doing so far? Let me know in the comment section below. So there's not a single album in D yet. Kiss, Hotter Than Hell. Yeah, that was, I loved their debut album. I bought that when it came out. But Hotter Than Hell was such a disappointing album. But I think it was mainly the production. So I'll put it in C. Right there. Foghat Energized, just your typical okay Foghat album. Ahead of Humble Pie. Right there. Okay. Bachman Turner Overdrive, Not Fragile. Pretty darn good album. I will put that in A. Right there. Elton John Caribou. Not one of my favorite Elton John albums. I will put that in B. Right there. Yeah, Ringo Starr, Goodnight Vienna, kind of similar to Caribou. But I probably like Ringo's album just a tad more. The Sweet, Desolation Boulevard, actually kind of an underrated band. Put them there. The sensational Alex Harvey Band, The Impossible Dream, that is A. Could almost be S tier. I'm going to put it right there, just before Lou Reed. The Guess Who Flavors. I prefer their earlier albums, but it's still not a bad album. I'll put it just, where am I here? Just before Michael Nesmith. Sparks Kimono, My House, S tier. But I think I'm going to put, I don't know. They're pretty even. I'm going to put Propaganda first. David Bowie, Diamond Dogs. That's S tier. Just before Frank Zappa. Man, Rhinos, Winos, and Lunatics. I bet most of you have never heard this album. I love it. I will put that, I'll put it in, I won't go crazy here, but I'll put it in B. But it's a very strong B, just before Genesis. George Harrison, Dark Horse, not really a fan of that album. Just before the Kinks. El Dorado, Electric Light Orchestra, that is S tier. I love it even more than Crime of the Century. Hawkwind, Hall of the Mountain Grill. That's awesome. I'll put that in B. I like it right there. Yeah, Uriah Heep, Wonderworld, they were so, their first few albums were so good. But then after, like, The Magician's Birthday, I kind of didn't really care for their later albums. I'll put it in C. right there. Gene Clark, No Other is S tier. Yeah, I'm going to put it right there, just before Blue Oyster Cult. Right. Make sure you can see all this here. Yeah, Rod Stewart Smiler. The last album of his that I really loved was Never a Dull Moment. I love his early albums, but this was... I'm going to put it in D. Kiss, their debut album. My favorite Kiss album. I'll put that in B. Just ahead of Sweet. Foghat, Rock and Roll Outlaws. Kind of similar to Energized. I think Energized is maybe a tad better. So I'll put it there. 10cc Sheet Music is A. There we go. Just ahead of Kraftwerk's Autobahn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 to go. Yes, Relayer is S tier. That would be... Oof. I think it's going to go ahead of Secret Treaties. Nectar, Down to Earth, love the album. That's going to be A. Right before Queen 2. Jethro Tull, War Child, kind of an underrated album. I thought it was a good album. I'll put it in B. Just ahead of Kiss. So there you go. Grand Funk Shining On. Not a bad... Once again, I was starting to lose interest in them. But it's not a bad album. I'll put it in B. Ahead of Ringo. Just before Kiss. The Guess Who Road Food. Like I said, I love their earlier albums, but it's still a good album. I'll put it ahead of Grand Funk. Neil Young, On the Beach. That's got to be A. I know some people would put it in S tier. Just before King Crimson Red. Black Oak, Arkansas, Street Party. Yeah, the disappointing follow-up. I just become a fan, High on the Hog, in their live album, and then Street Party came out and it was disappointing. I'll put it in C. It's not even as good as Hotter Than Hell. I'll put it... just before Uriah Heep, and the final one, the Rolling Stones, It's Only Rock and Roll. Kind of an okay album. It's not bad. I'll put it in B. Where did it go? I lost it. Okay. I'll put it just before King Crimson. Like I said, I've only heard that King Crimson album once, but I liked it. Just need to hear it more. So that is it. 1974. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 in the S tier. And yeah, I would love your thoughts on my tier list and what year should I do next? Let me know in the comment section below. Please remember to like the video and make sure you're subscribed to both of my channels. Thank you. Bye.